met him second quarter, when UC was still in quarters and everything, and he was very, very quiet. He actually found me through UC's email system, so he searched me to get my email, and he pulled a ring out of the camera case, and I just couldn't believe it. I wasn't expecting anything like that. It was perfect. It was June wedding. We got married outside, and everything was just great. I always wanted kids. I just always never thought that I'd have kids this early. I'm getting pregnant, and we actually found out right before we were going to go on another vacation. I told him, and I just started bawling. Everyone was just so excited. Yeah, so everyone was just happy, and we're all happy. I was so incredibly sick. Everyone was happy, so. That we got the disappointing news on the ultrasound. So it was at around 22 weeks, and we found out, but then they said, but there's something wrong. So that was tough, because I really wanted a girl. She did the ultrasound, she told us she thought it was a girl. And then she said, but the baby's measuring small. And I thought, well, I'm sure it's just because I'm small, like, it couldn't be like, and he was like, yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about it. But they couldn't see the kidneys, and so they thought there's something wrong, so they had to send me to a high-risk doctor. She was measuring it, and she said, yeah, the baby's measuring at 18 weeks, and I was at almost 23 weeks, or I was 22 weeks. The doctor came in and basically told us that the baby's head was normal size, but the body was really, really small, and so I just didn't know what that meant. I thought, well, does that mean, like, the baby's, like, a dwarf? Like, I don't know. Like, what does that mean? And she said, no, she has a severe spinal abnormality, and it's fatal. And she couldn't tell us what it was. And so then I just started bawling, and I was, like, both my contacts fell, so I couldn't even see anything. So I'm, like, sitting there, like, completely vulnerable. Like, I can't see anything. Like, I'm sitting there, like, it's not likely the baby will survive. Like, since I had such low fluid, like, it wasn't even likely the baby would survive in the womb. And I said, so what about termination? She said, yeah, that's an option. But she didn't tell me, like, she didn't tell me anything. That's what I was really upset about. Neither her nor the doctor told me that at 22 weeks I'd have to go. We can't do anything past 17 weeks. And I'm like, my God, like, what if I can't get this done? I technically was 22 weeks sick. I was 22 weeks 3 days. They can't do it past 22 weeks 6 days, and they couldn't get me in. They're trying to give me resources and trying to give me all this stuff, but the doctors, I mean, they didn't do anything. They said Planned Parenthood in Ohio, I can't remember if they said Cincinnati or Ohio, doesn't do abortions past 17 weeks. There's no other clinic in Cincinnati that'll do it past 22 weeks, or in Ohio that'll do it past 22 weeks, but she said there's a place in Dayton they might be able to get you in before you get to 22 weeks 6 days, and they couldn't. So it was just a phone chain, and this was at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, something, and these places are closing, and I need to get this done now, or I'm not going to be able to sleep. I just need to figure this all out. So everybody just saw it as something that wasn't really an option. My grandpa and him have always fought about abortion, saying, he always said, like, no matter what, you can't get an abortion. But then even when he heard my situation, he just felt bad and felt sorry that I had to do it. And he didn't see it as being an option either, and that's how most people saw it, which is surprising considering what I've heard them talk about in the past. So we ended up getting there, we checked into our hotel, the drive wasn't too bad, I guess, and we went to the clinic, and I was just really worried just because, so I was looking up the clinic, and there's not a whole lot of information to find. I mean, it's Family Planning Associates, and so there's a few locations in Chicago, but there's only one that does late term. I just sketched out because I was looking at the pictures of it online, and it was all boarded up, and I was really worried that it was like, because I read, I think I might even have a book. Yeah, I read, This Common Secret, have you read This Common Secret? Abortion Doctor, you might want to take a look at it. But so I read about that, and how, like, there are places where it's like a scam, and you go in and they try to convince you not to get it done. And I was just so, even though I found all this reputable stuff online, and I was so worried that I would go in and it would be a scam. The parking lot was fenced in, so you couldn't see who was coming in, just for the protection of the women that were there. And then the experience there was great. I mean, everyone was so kind, and first appointment was because I got a dilation and extraction, so they have to dilate you once or twice. But then when we got there, I had to have an ultrasound again, and I know they have to do it to measure the size of the baby and make sure that the age is right. And so they measure the size of the baby, and then they placed the baby at 18 weeks. Once they did the ultrasound and placed the baby at 18 weeks, it was hard to see it, but I was just so thankful because I was really worried just because I technically was at 22 weeks, 3 days when I got and the next day I got the procedure done and they wanted me to stay at the hotel overnight just in case there were any complications. So they finally let me go and yeah, I just went back to the hotel and I felt so guilty that I left her there. I just wish I could have done it here, like so I could have been at home. Definitely more than $3 grand. I've always cared about this issue, and I've always have. I think I said in the post, I've always been a one-issue voter, and that's stop seeing women as a collective. We each have our own individual stories and each have our own issues that we're dealing with, and so my story is just one of several women who have had to make this decision. Consider the tragedies that we have to face, having to go far away. I know women that have had to go to Colorado and they live in Michigan, you know, I mean, and that costs a lot of money, and most women who have to face this can't do that. This is just so silenced, and I feel silenced, and I don't want to be silenced.